Good morning, everybody. Today is January 10th, 2025. I am Lisa, the Awkward Quilter GA. I wanted to show you, I've been working on Millie's dresses with Mona Did What, Deb S., the Pug Mama Quilter, and Verlena. They are working on a sew along on Mona's channel, and the sew along for this month, the month of January, was Millie's dresses. And I am not working on the full quilt. I'm just going to do a small lap quilt utilizing some scraps and some other fabric that I had on hand. But I wanted to switch it up a little. And so what I have done is I went ahead and I made the pattern, or I made the block as it was called for. And you can see it here. I made the block as it was called for, and then I added 2.5-inch strips to make it a little bigger. And the reason for that was I wanted to make a cameo block. So my finished quilt will actually have 6 blocks of this cameo type print, and it just harkens back to an older time with the cameos, the flowers, and it helped me utilize some of these solids that I have on hand. Um, so I just want to do a quick tutorial on how I did this. Now, I'm not going to be doing any sewing, but I will tell you how we go about it. Now, around the corners, if you can see, let me just get this here for a minute. Around the corners, I actually did do an applique stitch around the corners, and I utilized some of those fun stitches that I have on my sewing machine. There are actually 3 different types of applique on there, or applique stitches. We have your traditional applique stitch to help bind everything together. We have another stitch that really reminded me of lace. And then I had some hearts that I did right along the side, right around the corner, to get that beaded cameo look. So that's that. So let me just move this aside. So one of the first things I had to do was get my block and cut it out into an oval shape, which meant I had to hunt around for something with an oval shape to it. I did make a template. I started with cardstock, 4 of them taped together so that I had a big enough surface space to work with. And what I actually found stored away in one of my cupboards was a serving platter that I think I purchased at a dollar store for a dollar many years back. And this was the perfect size for me. So you might have something in your kitchen that is oval shape, a platter you've forgotten about, and you want it to be big enough where it is going to cover Millie's dresses and give you adequate space to work with. So I went ahead and traced out that template. You can see my first initial line was really crooked, but I went ahead and traced out that template and very carefully cut it around. Excuse me. Apologize about that. It's really early this morning. Okay, so I have this. I have also cut out some batting. It's from my stash. You always have those extra pieces when you quilt. I went ahead, folded it in half, and then just cut it out. Now, I am going to do some additional trimming once I get my block done. What I want you to do is take this, fold it in half, give it a press, and then do the same thing because we are wanting to find our center, our very center on the top, and our center on the sides. Okay, so I have pressed my dress out, my block out, and you can see my center lines. What I'm going to do is lengthwise, I'm going to fold it in half very carefully, making sure everything is still lined up, everything has a nice crease. And I am going to place this right down the center. Now, I do have a mark, my center point right there, that I am going to line up with that crease. So I am in the middle of the dress. So there's a line right here, my middle block. It lines up with that crease. And I want to make sure the edges are actually on the quilt itself. There's a little gap, that's okay. And I'm using a weight to help hold it down because what I am going to do is just very carefully with my fingers tucked away. I'm just going to cut along. Now, if you want to trace it out and cut it, that is fine. I find that this works well for me. So whatever you are comfortable with. So I have this piece. This is going to go in my scrap bin or a scrap project I'm working on. I have this piece now. I'm going to set that aside. And on my batting, I want to cut it just about an, an eighth of an inch because I do want it smaller than the dress block itself. And the reason for that is it will stitch better and you will not have all this extra batting when you applique stitch. So here you go. And I just want to make sure it's a little smaller, and it is. I'm going to set that aside. Now with your background fabric for this, get that out of the way. With your background fabric, I this is an 18-inch piece of fabric, 18 by 18, and it is a little big, but I wanted my blocks to stand out. Again, I'm only making 6, so I'm trying to grow this quilt just a little so it's a good lap size quilt. Now, I did cut a smaller piece of fusible. I used, it was Pelham 911FF fusible interfacing. I've lightly ironed it on, fused it on because I'm going to trim some of this away when I am through quilting this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to find the center of this as well. So we're going to do the same thing we did with Millie's block. We are going to fold it in half, find the center, give it a good iron, press down, do the same thing on the other side. I am going to show you the best that I can on this little workspace with my wool mat, what we're going to do here. So let me move this aside. I did do the creases. I am going to open this up and I am going to open my block up, make sure that there is no batting that's peeking out, and if there is, you can just trim it again. And I'm going to give everything a good press. Now, the batting I'm using, it is not fusible, but it will adhere enough to do the trick to make everything work out well. Oh, nice press. Move out of the way for a minute. I am going to open this up and I'm going to lay this block directly on the center. So those marks, when we folded it over to find the center, I am lining it up with the center of the block, those little creases I made with the center of the block, and again, the center of the block. And this is so everything just kind of works out a little even. And you give it a little press. Then I'm going to take my Elmer's glue stick. Have my little Elmer glue stick here. I'm going to work on the top, just gently pull it back. Give it a couple good swipes. And iron it down. The glue stick is washable, so it will wash out. But what it will do is help it to stay in place while you are completing your applique stitch. If you would like, you can pop a pin in it to make certain it stays. This part's not necessary, um, but you can pop a pin in it. And I'll just go ahead and do it for the tutorial. And let me move this out of the way. All right, so I am now going to go ahead and applique with your applique stitch that kind of looks like a railroad or half a railroad. I'm going to applique all the way around this. And what I want to do is make sure that it's tucked in. Now, do not worry if there is, because it's raw edge applique, do not worry if it frays a little. The other applique process that we're going to do is going to take care of all that fraying. All right, so I'm going to go ahead applique this because you do not want to watch me sew this for the 10 minutes it takes to go around or the 5 minutes that it takes to go around on this particular stitch. I am using a butter Aurifil, and I think it just adds to the antique look of it. So I've taken my first applique stitch all around, and remember the little frame that I said may happen depending on your fabric, that it is here. I'm not going to do anything about it. On my third go around, my third stitch, that will be taken care of. So I've done this, and now I am going to put a decorative stitch on the inside. If you have a Janome, it is mode 265. At least that's what it is on mine. And I'm going to do an inside stitch to have that lace effect. Okay, so I have completed my second applique, and you can see it is sitting on the inside. I don't know if you can see it because of the coloring, but it is sitting on the inside of the oval. What I'm going to do now is I am going to put another row of applique around it that is either going to be a filled circle. In my case, it's going to be hearts, and what I want it to do is I want it to just barely grab that edge of the oval, and that is going to take care of the frame. Now, thankfully, my machine allows me to do hands free sewing. So I just hit the start button and I'm just gently guiding my fabric around and allowing it to do it so my foot is not on the foot pedal because that takes a little bit. But I'm going to finish that and I will be back. I have completed the quilting or the applique portion of Millie's dresses. I did do an addition of the belt, and that I just did some batting with the belt color of choice that I wanted. Actually, all my blocks will have a black belt. And I place it on top just to give it a little bit of dimension. So here you go. I am going to trim away this back portion so that way my fabric lies a little flatter when I am quilting it. But here you go. I'm excited to show you what the completed quilt will look like. I hope that you are joining Mona, Deb, and Rowena in this so long. It's been really fun. A little, in fact, it has been better than I thought it would be. 2025 is kind of the year of exploration for me, mixing different techniques and styles and just taking blocks that I'm not very excited about and turning it into something that I am excited about and learning a few new techniques along the way. So I hope you join it. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I would appreciate it, but I thank you. As always, be blessed, be kind, and keep sewing. Thank you.